What is the darkest secret you've learned about someone that instantly ended your relationship with them? X had a business as a makeup artist, and I looked it up one day on Yelp. It was full of reviews about her unethical practices with her clients, including not showing up on their wedding day. Isn't it crazy how something like that can literally change your whole opinion of someone in an instant? I had a coworker who told me stories about how he used to take money from his mom during his college years without her knowing. His mom works in another country, and when it's time to pay for university tuition fees, he artificially inflates the price and pockets the difference. Went on for about 4 years, says he spends the money on women and risky habits, but more often on women. His mom worked as a housemaid. He has no qualms telling the story as if it's funny. Looked at him differently from that point on. I had a friend who was being supported through college by his grandfather. The problem was, he wasn't in college. He would send the old man fake report cards. His grandfather was not wealthy. He was a working-class immigrant who had escaped war and extreme poverty, and was so proud because my friend was going to be the first college graduate in the family. When I found out, I dropped that friend fast. My cousin, who I don't talk too much, was complaining to me about being treated like the black sheep of the family, and then went on to describe his falling out with another cousin, in which he behaved inappropriately toward that cousin's teenage daughter. And he did not understand why I cut him off after that. Oh man. I'm an open person and not afraid to be weird. It's a shitty feeling when creeps and legit evil people try to endear and relate to you. Makes me rethink everything every time. 20 years ago, we learned my cousin, who was like a brother to me, mistreated my 5-year-old niece in the worst way possible. Haven't spoken to him since. People sometimes talk about family loyalty, like it's supposed to override everything. But protecting children is the actual line in the sand. Once someone crosses that, it doesn't matter if they're a cousin, brother, friend, whatever. They made the choice that destroyed that relationship. I don't understand this. My mom and aunt were harmed by my maternal great-grandfather when they were young. My grandma told my mom and aunt to keep it to themselves because my grandpa would end him otherwise. They got guilted into protecting their abuser. It makes me sick. Finding out she hid her own daughter's trauma for the sake of protecting her father sickened me. TBF. My grandpa was a farm boy, WW1 vet, and he most likely would have taken physical action. But I feel like that's valid. Why is protecting the adult offender in the family more important than helping the victims, especially when the victim is your own child? I found out my fiancé hadn't gone to jail years before for a fight with his dad, like he said, but for crimes against a minor, specifically his 5-year-old stepsister. We applied for an apartment together, and they were like, "Oh hey, we can't accept people with that kind of record." And I was like, well, I'm sure he got into a fight with his dad after that came to light, so he's technically correct. Talk about burying the main point, though. My friend Tommy had a friend Brian that I didn't trust. I felt uneasy about him. Tommy told me Brian was now back in town and was watching Tommy's infant daughter while he was at work. I ended up looking into Brian's past and found out he had just been released from a lengthy prison sentence for predatory behavior involving a minor across state lines. I contacted the authorities and social services after I confronted Tommy. The fact that he knowingly put his daughter in risk for free childcare was disgusting. Tommy claimed Brian would never do that to his daughter. We haven't spoken since. I found out my brother had 2 families, 2 sets of kids, 2 wives. Found out my best friend, the best man at my wedding, was a predator. About 90% of answers here are about assault and exploitation. Why is this so common? I was just asking this question to my partner while watching a documentary. How is it possible there are so many people seeking to harm children? Actively building networks solely for exploitation. How? Sadly, those with these urges represent approximately 2% of the population. By math alone, we all probably have someone like that in our extended networks. And that number is likely much higher. Remember, that's not only the number of people that have been caught, but it doesn't consider cultures where extreme age gap unions are normalized. I have an uncle who recently caused a fatal accident involving 2 kids on the side of the road because he was driving under the influence. That's when I found out he had taken another life the same way 25 years prior, but avoided prison. The whole thing made me very uncomfortable, and I haven't spoken to that side of the family since. Had a friend in my mid-20s. She told a story about how her group targeted a shy classmate, tricked him into sending an inappropriate photo, and then humiliated him by spreading it across the whole school. The worst part was that she told this story so proudly, as if it was fun. That's so morally corrupt. I stopped talking to her. She casually bragged about driving a child to end their own life. I have never felt my heart harden so quickly towards someone. I think she should be in prison for it. I found out that my friend of 28 years was enabling and covering up her husband's serious crimes against women. When he was arrested, it became clear she'd known what he was doing for years. I felt sick at the level of deception. I went to the police. My best friend in middle school and I tried to stay close even after I moved. When we were 19, he started talking about a girl from his neighborhood. At first, it sounded like normal talk, but then he mentioned something that made me realize she was still a child. When I asked her age, he said she was only 12. I left right then and there. I haven't spoken to him since that day in '94. I worked at a shop where a coworker bragged about buying her kids expensive electronics like iPads. Then she said she was clever because she took gifts from a program meant for families in need just to get more stuff. Her husband owned a business, so they didn't need the help at all. Later, she said she wanted to take in foster kids just for the government payments. It was cold and greedy. I had a colleague I looked up to like a father. I found out that at a holiday party, he had too much to drink and wouldn't leave a young female coworker alone, even trying to follow her to her room. Others had to step in to stop him. He was a married man. I lost every bit of respect for him. It made me wonder how often he had behaved that way behind closed doors. I want to say something important. I have struggled with my own demons and made mistakes in my life, but none of those mistakes involved crossing someone's line or hurting them. You don't mistreat people because of a struggle with a bottle. You do it because of a lack of character. A guy I knew from a sports team told me a dark story about how he treated his wife, who was from another country. He pressured her and was very unkind the night before he arranged for her to be sent out of the country. Then he ended the marriage while she was gone and blocked her. It was one of the most heartless things I've ever heard.